So to go forward, I click
Here.
Oh, I can go here.
Yes. Thank you, Emmanoel.
Okay.
All yours.
So thank you, Victor and Bia, for the invitation to be here today. Thank you for coming. So this talk will be on the aesthetics of play in video games. As Victor said, it's a more philosophical talk, but I will show you some examples to highlight the more theoretical approaches that I will bring here. So when we think about aesthetics, what do you think about aesthetics? I'm asking you, yeah. You can speak in Spanish.
Be a build, so
Beauty.
we studied pretty much to do big design. We talked about the 8 principles.
Yeah.
Aesthetics, maybe. So I guess it's like I guess we'll talk about those.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, when we talk about aesthetics, usually what comes to mind is beauty, is the judgment of taste. There are classical approaches to aesthetics. And now in this talk, I will be talking about another approach of aesthetics that I will show you. That's not so much focused on beauty or the judgment of taste, but in a kind of relationship with the world, not only with beauty objects, but any interaction of the everyday life. And then how we can take this approach to video games. Yeah. So the main goal of this talk is to investigate how video games differ from traditional media, that is non-ergodic media. I will explain this concept, in fostering aesthetics experiences. So, oh, it's going all of a sudden. Okay. So some quests. I made this video game based quotes here. So the objective, the quest to achieve these goals. So the first one is to explore the relationship between aesthetic experience and playfulness or ludicity or the logic. I will talk about this. The second one is to develop 3 epistemological axes: aesthetics and agency, aesthetics and appropriation, and aesthetics and politics. And the third one is to investigate how games as ludic media offer unique aesthetic experience for the players. Okay. So the first one, we are going to take this notion of aesthetics experience. So it's not only the aesthetics, but the aesthetic experience. And for this concept, to understand this concept, we go to what we call the pragmatist philosophy. So there are 2 authors that we are going to highlight here. The first one is an older one, is John Dewey. He's one of the most important authors to work this concept of aesthetic experience. And the second one is like a disciple to Dewey, called Richard Schusterman. It's a book from 1988 called Pragmatist Aesthetics, Living Beauty, Rethinking Art. So we are going to talk about this concept. So the aesthetics experience is taken with this concept of aesthetics that's not limited to the production of beauty, as we can see, for example, in the philosophy of arts or the history of art, is most focused on the beauty, the judgment of taste. And this approach is not limited to these concepts of beauty and judgment of taste, but aesthetics here is more rooted on the own word aesthetics that has to do with sensibility, with the senses. The aesthetic, it was founded in the 18th century by Baumgarten, which was a philosopher. And for him, he took the name aesthetics from the Greek, from the aesthesis. Aesthesis is related to the senses, to the sensibility. So aesthetics, when it was founded as a discipline in the 18th century, it was taken from this Greek word, the aesthesis. So aesthetics has to do most and foremost with the sensibility, our senses. So when we talk about aesthetics experience, we are talking about our senses. How are our senses, our sensibility relates to the everyday things, to the everyday stuff that we encounter on a daily basis. So it's not, as I say here, limited to the production of beauty. And the aesthetics experience from the pragmatist philosophy is also rooted on the notion that anything can cause on us this experience. Let's suppose every encounter in this experience, it has something special from the common experiences that will be faced on our everyday life. So let's suppose we have one full day, and we have a lot of experiences during this day. But the aesthetics experience is something that is more important, that's more powerful. It's something that relates to our senses, but it's more powerful. It detaches it from our everyday experiences, and we can like remember this experience of being more important, more how I say, more appealing to us. So there is this example that is very illustrative of this kind of experience that is from the movie American Beauty from 1999, I think so. I will try to allow, yeah, to show this scene. It's called the plastic bag scene. It's when, have you seen this movie, American Beauty? No? Okay. Acepta. Hello. Oh, there is this patrocinado. No, gracias. Yeah, yes. Is there sound here? No. No. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Should we?
It's here. Yes.
Okay. So let me explain this scene. This is one of the main actors, the main protagonist of this movie, and he met this girl, and he's a very strange guy. He's very what? Okay, thank you. He's very closer to himself, and in one day, né, this girl, it's his new friend. She goes to his apartment, and he asks her to show her something. And she's very fond of recording everyday life scenes. So she will tell her that that he has recorded this scene, this plastic bag scene, and that it somehow touched him, like the bag was dancing for him. Okay. Yeah. I'll not show the entire scene, but I think the part that he talks to her is very interesting. The text, the dialogue is very interesting.
It's one of those days. It's a minute away from snowing. There's this electricity in the air. It comes here. Right. This bag was just dancing with me. Like a little kid begging me to play with it. Behind things. This benevolent force. I wanted me to know that there was no reason to be afraid. Never. Any support excuse, I know. But it helps me remember. I need to remember. beauty in the world. I can't take it. Amen.
So this is the scene. So he was in the streets, on the streets, and he used it to carry his camera, and he saw this plastic bag, and he noticed that maybe it was something special in this day. So this is for Dewey, this author, an aesthetics experience because it was detached from the everyday experiences of him. So he filmed this plastic bag dancing for him, dancing, and it was touching. It touched him in a special way. Is it clear? Yeah. So it's not a work of art. It's not a museum, but it's a plastic bag, something very ordinary. But it had a force, a special force, an aesthetic force. Yes, a force that touches his sensibility. So he filmed this bag, and it was an experience that he can remember of being special, but directed to the senses. It is important to underscore that. Okay, it's not any experience; it's an experience directed to the senses. Okay. So from the pragmatist philosophy point of view, this is what suggests an aesthetic experience. There is no clear definition. We can say, this is aesthetic, this is not aesthetic, but the person will feel this experience of being aesthetic. So now we go to the concept of playfulness or ludic or lúdico. We can say that in Spanish or in Portuguese, because playful is not a very good translation, but it's the most close that we can get to this concept. But however, Johann Halsinha, he uses the term ludic in his English translation of his work. So to work on this concept, we take these four authors here, but 4, né? Johann Halsinha, that has written Homo Ludens. It's a very famous book, yeah, on play and games. Roger Caillois, on his book Men Play. Oh, it's not this. I put Men and the Secret. It's Men Playing and Games.
It's good too.
Yeah. But I have mistaken. Bernard Suits from the Grasshopper. And there is this author that he's specialized in the ancient Rome, and there is a part that he talks about ludic, the ludus, yeah, the ludic sense. So we'll take some of these authors to try to understand what is playful or playfulness. Playfulness is the quality of the playful, ludicidade, né? And playful would be ludic, né? And taking this author, this Bernard Stanley Bonner, in this book, Education in Ancient Rome, he says that the playful or the ludic or the ludico comes from the Latin ludus, that in a general sense, its meaning is the school. And then we can think, well, what does it have to do with play, with games? There is this school, Ludus Literarius, the School of Letters. Ludus Magister is the teacher, the primary teacher. But also the Ludus was the training school for the gladiators. So it's a school for training, for the matches. You'll know that in ancient Rome, there were a lot of matches of combats between gladiators, and they were like slaves. And the Ludus was also the place. It's called the place, the training school. So there were many ludi in the ancient Rome, like Ludus Magnus, Ludus Dassicus, around 80 or 90 of the Common Era. So every ludus, every ludi had one master, yeah, that was also an slave, but of a higher class. and the gladiators were all slaves. So they had to at some point to buy his freedom. So they had to combat for the audience, like a game, like a festival. So there was also other kind of ludi activities or ludical activities, like the ludi circenses, that was the circus, yeah, the matches, the ludi scenici, that was the theater. So we have also the sense of ludus, as in play, we play a role, yeah. We go to a play, to a theater, to watch a play, yeah. And the ludi gladiatorial was the ludi of the gladiators, the matches. So ludic comes from this Roger Calois, he talks about the agonistic characteristics of the games, yeah. So the agon is the competitive characteristics of the games. I think you saw that, yeah. So the training school has this agon characteristic. So the ludus has to do with this agon characteristic of the games. So ludus has become something related to games, to combats, in this sense. And if we take the concept of ludic from Hausenha, he makes an etymological approach to the word. Yeah? He goes to the Greek, to the Sanskrit, to the Old English and other languages. So, for example, in Greek, he brings these two words, the paideia, it's the children's play, as in Kaloa, that we'll talk about the paideia, né? And agon has to do with the skills, the competitions. In the Sanskrit language, he brings many words like kridati, that has to do with playing, with jumping, with dancing, and divyati, to throwing something. So it has to do with rapid movement, the movement, yeah. In Old English and High and Low German, he brings some words like lichen, that gives birth to Lika, and Ligi in Icelandic and Swedish and Danish, that has to do with play, but originally it has a sense of rapid movement. So we can begin to approach these two terms, the ludic with movement, yeah. All the games that we play, we have to move, even make small movements. We'll talk about this later. And there is this quote of Hausenha that he says, as we have seen before, rapid movement must be regarded as the concrete starting point of many play words. We recall Plato's conjecture that the origin of play lies in the need of all young creatures, animal and human, to leap. So for Hausenha, he has also this meaning that the ludic, the playful, has to do with movement, of jumping, to leap, yeah. And in many games, we have this mechanic of jumping, of movement. I think that in every game, we have to move. So it's interesting, this relationship. Yeah? And also he says that the relationship between playing a game and playing an instrument, yeah, there is the movement of the hands on playing an instrument. So he says the skills needed to play an instrument and the nimble and orderly movements of the fingers. So for him, if we take this etymologically, the term ludic has to do with movement or rapid movement. And why is this important to us? Because when we talk about the aesthetics of play, I bring two authors, this French one, Jean-Louis Boissier, that he has this concept called the relationship as form, la relation comme forme. And also Katja Kwastek is a German or Dutch professor. She has this book called Aesthetics of Interaction in Digital Art. And for them, the ludic, the aesthetics of play, the experience of playing a game is not, the aesthetics is not, it's not on the object, and also it's not on the subject. Is in the relationship in the interaction between the subject that plays and the game or the play object. So I made this graphic here. So the aesthetics experience in play would occur in the interaction between the audience or the interactor or the player and the work that is the game. Yes, it's not on the work, the experience, it's not only on the audience, but it's in this interaction. As Jesper Yu says, there is the game, there is the player, and the playing the game only occurs when we take the game as an object and we give life to this object, playing it. Okay. So for them, the playfulness, the aesthetics of play is in between the audiences and the work. Is that okay? The sense of interaction, yeah. Because we have to play a game, we have to move, we have to access the game, we have to start a movement. If we start a game on a console or on a PC and we stay stalled, the game won't happen. But if we play a movie, we can set play, and the movie will play regardless of the interactor, the audience. But in the game, no, we can't do that. We can, if we press start on the control, the game will be there waiting for us to do something, to do a movement, to interact directly with the game. So to better understand this, how can we achieve the aesthetics experience in games? I bring 3 epistemological axes to understand in which ways, in which particular ways we can achieve this experience. Yeah, we can relate the aesthetics with games. And they are, for me, agency, appropriation, and politics. Let me correct here just a second. Oh, it's not possible.
PDF.
Oh, PDF. Okay, so
We'll believe you.
okay, and politics. It's not agency, the third one. Okay, so first of all, the aesthetics and agency. So I bring here 3 authors, Janet Murray and Espen Arset. They were maybe the grandfathers and grandmothers of game studies, or the fathers, the parents in the late 90s. So Janet Murray has this book, Hamlet on the holodeck. Espen Arset has the cybertext, and I also bring this newer book, this newer author called T. Nguyen, that he has this book called Games, Agency as Art. Okay, so I'll bring these concepts. So Janet Murray, in her book, he talks about agency. What is agency? For her, agency is the satisfying power to take meaningful action and see the results of our decisions and choices. So agency is something that is particular, especially of games. So we don't have agency when we are watching a movie because we can't take meaningful action. The movie is going to play regardless of us, okay? But in games, we have to take meaningful action and we see the results of these actions. So it's a pleasure to see this result. It's a feeling, yeah? As she says, it's a satisfying power. We have this power. And I think that it is Arset that says that when we are in a match, like for example, in the football match, we can root for our team, but we can scream and we can say bad words to the team players, but we cannot alter the sense of the game, the ongoing sense of the game. We can do whatever we want, but the game will be played regardless of us. But in a game, we have this power to change the order of things. Yeah. And in Nguyen, he says that video games are a special form of recording agencies. He says that in our daily lives, we have agency on our lives. So let's suppose if I want to drink this water, I'm going to the water and I drink the water. So I have this power. I chose to take the bottle of water and drink water. So it's agency. I have this agency over this object. But these agencies, they are, let's say, random in the everyday life. We cannot choose when, especially when we want to have this agency. And he says that in video games, they are programmed agencies. So when we want to experience agency, we can go to games. Games are this ultimate form of recording agencies and experiencing agencies. And he says, games turn out to be part of the human practice of inscription. Painting lets us record sights. Music lets us record sounds. Stories lets us record narratives. And games lets us record agencies. So when someone develops a game, he's recording these possibilities of agencies. So he's planning that the game will give the player many possibilities of agency. So agency is a central part of playing a game, yeah? And he says also, just as novels let us experience lives we have not lived, games let us experience forms of agency we might not have covered on our own. But those shaped experiences of agency can be valuable in themselves as art. So this experience of interacting with a game and having this agency, we can relate this with this aesthetics experience, okay? So when we make something in a game, make an action, and we see the results of this action, we can feel this experience, this aesthetics experience. Also, Arset, in his book Cybertext, he tells us about this ergodic media. What is ergodic? It comes from the Greek words ergon and odos. It has to do with path and work. So we have to do some work and choose between paths in this kind of media. And video games are a type of ergodic media. So we have to express some work to achieve this experience in games, yeah. And we have also to choose between paths. So like if I am in an adventure game, I have two paths to follow, and I have to choose between two paths or between two alternatives. Yeah, it's very good. It's very common in all of the games we play to choose between doing something A or something B or something C or D. So he says that in games or in ergodic media, we produce this extra noematic effort. What is extra noematic? He says that the noematic effort is the effort that we do when we are reading a book or watching a movie. It's a trivial effort. But when we have this more interactive effort, this work, it's an non-trivial effort, like playing a game, like interacting with interactive art, okay? And Dewey, the author of Aesthetics, the aesthetic experience of 1934, he already says that the act of producing that is directed by intent to produce something that is enjoyed in the immediate experience of perceiving has qualities that a spontaneous or uncontrolled activity does not have. So, making this parallel with Nguyen, he says that games are this form of projecting, of programming agencies. So when someone produces or programs this agency, we can expect to experience this agency. So agency, for me, is the first form, the first way to achieve this aesthetic experience. And for example, I bring you this game. I don't know if you played it. Death Stranding from 2019, from Kojima, from Hideo Kojima. And he said that in an interview for the BBC UK. We may be connected through the internet more than ever, but what's happening is that people are attacking each other because we are so connected. President Trump right there and now is building a wall. In Death Stranding, we are using bridges to represent connection. There are options to use them or break them. It's about making people think about the meaning of connection. Caring for each other is what makes people feel good. We've always been like that in the past. I want people to remember that and feel it in my game. So I don't know if you remember, we must build bridges in this game. And there are other players that we don't see, but we can interact with them by leaving some marks, some like marks. So if I build a bridge in this game, someone can access this bridge, can use this bridge, or can use something that I leave for them. I can leave a backpack or a material for someone in those spots, and someone can go there and see what I left for them and give me a like. So I am exerting this agency. I feel the results of my actions in the game. In this game, it's very important, this agency. We see this agency, we see the result of our actions. So I build a bridge and someone will be thankful for me, for leaving this bridge. And I have also a video here. I will not play the entire video because it's 10 minutes. And it's like a poem that someone...
An old man going a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm.
I love this game. I really love the game. I played this game during the first year of the pandemic.
A sullen time.
And we were not connected to each other because of the pandemic. And it was very comforting, this game.
But he turned
I felt this connection.
on the other side and built a bridge to span the
He's
time.
building a bridge,
Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting
and someone
time.
can use this bridge.
Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide.
Another bridge that he will. And the bridges are very important in this game, because there are some parts that are very hard to cross without the bridges, without the roads.
Today, a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm
Now
not to me.
the name of the character is Bridges. It's interesting.
He too must
Sam
cross
Bridges.
the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him.
Building this bridge for him. It's interesting.
That was the bridge builder.
The bridge builder. So this is only one example of agency, but for me, it's a very important one. As I said, I played this game during the pandemic, during 2020, and we were locked down, yeah, and we couldn't connect to each other directly. So this game was very, very touching for me, because I could experience this agency, and thus the aesthetics experience that comes from agency, okay? But in any game, we can experience this agency. So the second X is called the aesthetics and appropriation, or ludic appropriation. I will talk about this. And there is this author called Jacques Henriot. He's a French author. The Canadians has brought back this author a few years ago. The Canadians, the game studies scholars from Canada, from Quebec, because he's a French author. And he has this concept of juego del juego. It's not very easy to say it in English. Play of the game, play of play, né? Because I found this in Catalan and in Spanish. In Spanish, it's much like in Portuguese, jogo do jogo, juego del juego. And also this other author, this Canadian author called Maud Bonenfant, and she has this book called Le Libre Jeu, Réflexion sur l'appropriation ludique de l'activité ludique. So she brings this concept of ludic appropriation. And what is juego del juego? We can think about the juego. I don't know if you use this in Spanish, juego as a space of movement.
Yeah.
Like this mechanism has juego, has
Yeah.
play. Yeah, play. Yeah, yeah. So Henriot, he makes this metaphor. between the parts of the cogs, like suppose of a mechanism, and the play activity. So a mechanism has to have play, juego, between their parts. So if their parts has no play, they are very connected. The parts can't move. Also, otherwise, if the parts are very far from each other, they won't connect, so they won't move also. So the parts have to be connected, but not too tight and not too loose. So they have to have some play between them. And why did he bring this metaphor of play? Because he says that when we play a game, the game has to have some play, some space of movement. We must be able to create something upon a game. If a game has no space, has no play, we are only the triggers of an automatized system. Let's suppose, do this, do that, do that. We don't have any agency on this game. Otherwise, if the play is too loose, it's like a sandbox. We can do whatever we want. So it's not a game like on you, yes, but you, yeah. It's a idea. It's a children's play, yeah. So it has to have some play, not a lot of play, not no play, some play. That's what he called the juego del juego, the play, the space of the game. And I made this connection with the concepts of ludus and paideia from Roger Calois, because ludus would be the complete ludus would be no play, no hay juego. So we can do anything that's not ever already programmed in the game. So it was like we had this walkthrough or this book of instructions saying, one, do this, one, do that, go ahead. So we were to be only triggers of these activities, like a prescription. And the completely idea would be the total play. So we could do whatever we wanted. So it's not a game in the sense of based on rules that we have to pursue. So the ultimate experience would be in between ludus and paideia, some play. In this space here, we have some play. We have the system, the structure of the game with its rules, but we can also have this space of movement, this space of creation within the game, yeah? And then Maud Bonafin, she brings this concept of ludic appropriation, apropriação lúdica. So she says that the game has to have this space of movement. The game is structure and the player. So the game has its own structure of rules. So we have to follow these rules, but the game must leave us with some space to create, to choose our paths, like in Arset concept of ergodic media. So, and she says, the more skilled the player, the more space of movement they can achieve. So when we first come in contact with a game, we are not yet a skilled player. So we don't have much movement, much space of creation on this game. But as we get more skilled in the game, we can create more. Like in chess, when we begin playing chess, we don't know much about the game, so we will be concentrated on that basic movements. But as we get skilled in the game, we have more possibilities of creation, of movements, of playing the game. And making also this parallel with Villain Flusser, he says that we play with the photographic machine. Yes, we have to exhaust the program. We have to play with the machine to exhaust its possibilities. And for her, ludic appropriation is to start a game, to play with the game, not only to play the game, but to play with, yeah, to explore the possibilities of the game. And then with these possibilities, we make sense of the game. There is one very good example of this ludic appropriation that was in the Death Stranding game. Someone wanted to try to go to the border of the map, and what would happen if he did that. So it's a skilled player that has already finished the game and has mastered the controls of the game, the gameplay. And then he said, no, I want to explore the borders of the map. And then he went to a part of the map that was not mapped in the game's map. And then he noticed that he could trespass this border. And it was a very strange, like a glitch in the game when he trespassed this border. So why did he do that? For his own experience, for exploring the game, yeah. So ludic appropriation is to explore, is to find new possibilities within a game. So when we achieved all the possibilities, when we have beaten the game, we have to, but we can explore the possibilities that the games can offer to us. So it's to find new possibilities within a game. Yeah, it's this appropriation. Yeah, and for what? To make sense of the game, to make new senses of the game. And Dewey also says that when the participation comes out after a phase of disruption and conflict, it bears within itself the germs of a consummation akin to the aesthetic. So he says that when we are in contact with some work of art or some work on some everyday event that we are facing this experience, there is a beginning, a climax, and the end of the experience. So we can also do this parallel with Dewey's thought here. So appropriate a game is to find new possibilities within a game. So I say that the aesthetic is present in this appropriation, this ludic appropriation. And for to give an example of this appropriation, I bring this, it was the first slide of this presentation. Everything, I think that everyone knows the first game, the first Halo game from 2001, né? Halo Combat Evolved from Bungie Studios, Microsoft, yeah. It was the game that started the Xbox, the first Xbox console. So, and in 2004, the community of players of Halo players, there was this forum called High Impact Halo, and a user, he posted this in the forum, on the forum. I've been playing this for a few weeks now, and I'm trying to launch myself from one blue beam tower, that's a tower of one of the stages of the game, to the other in Halo. I haven't started yet, but I need to launch myself several times for the grenades and a warthog, that is a car in the game, on each tower. I also had another great, really impossible idea, but it was too hard and I can't remember what it was. So this challenge here, it was named by the community as the Tower to Tower Challenge. It began in 2004 and it was achieved in 2011, 7 years to achieve this challenge. So this challenge, it was not thought by the developers of the game. It's not something that you have to do to beat the game. So it was someone that was in this stage, and he thought that maybe he could go on the first tower, he could launch himself on the first tower, and then he could launch himself to the second tower. For what? For nothing, for the experience, for creating a challenge. So it was probably a player that has mastered the game, the gameplay. He was a very skilled player because of this challenge, which was very hard. Yeah, it took 7 years for someone to achieve this. Yeah? And it's completely for his pleasure, for the pleasure of the community, for the experience. So I can say that it's also an aesthetic experience because it is directed to our senses. Yeah, and then I have the video of him achieving this goal. It's a 10 or 15-second video. The preparation for this challenge it took several hours to prepare to the challenge, but the challenge itself is a few seconds. It's very funny. And afterwards, he made a video. We have this video on YouTube. He made like a narrative of the first attempt in 2004 and the final in 2011. And he recorded many attempts by the community. And when we see the comments of the video, many comments are aching to an aesthetic experience. The community that was watching the video was also having this aesthetic experience. So the aesthetic experience is also a common experience. We can share this experience with others. We can, like Rancière says, we can distribute this sensitivity, this sense of experience with others. So I'll play. Oh, it's not playing. Oh no, because I have this video here because it's not online anymore. I don't have it here. It's on my computer. Okay.
Don't worry, they will have to believe you.
Huh?
They will have to believe you.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Super Mario 64 button challenge.
Yes.
I love this approach to aesthetics because I'm a speedrunner myself, and these kind of challenges that people take the games and just make up their own challenges.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes. There is also the scene of Super Smash Bros. Brownlee. I don't know if you have seen this. It's a most North American scene that they discovered that a dash movement that altered, the wave dash. Yeah. It's also something that was not thought by the designers of the game, so it is an appropriation. The community takes the game and finds something and starts to build upon this discovery. So this is ludic appropriation.
So ludic appropriation may be a synonym to, let's say, emergent gameplay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, very good. Yeah. It's the creation of a new gameplay upon the regular gameplay that is discovered by the community. So you take the game, you appropriate the game, and you can create your own way of playing the game. Yeah, discovering new things and making sense of this. And the final relationship is between aesthetics and politics here not related to government or the regular politics, but as a force, force of the people, a force of the relationships between people. And I bring here two authors. Jacques Rancière is a philosopher, a French philosopher. He has this concept of the distribution of the sensible. This translation is a little bit strange because sensible is an adjective, not not a noun, but it's the translation. And this the game studies author called Graham Kirkpatrick. He has this book from 2011, Aesthetics Theory and the Video Game. And he has this concept of meaningless aesthetics that I will talk later. So for Jacques Rancière, he talks about these two regimes of the arts, the representative and the aesthetic. And for him, the representative is the classical aesthetics. It's still tied to the concepts of beauty, judgment of taste, and the like. So it's the classical aesthetic approach, yeah? And what he calls the aesthetic regime of the arts is when the production of the art or of the work, yeah, is concerned with who produces the art and to whom it is produced, aiming for a shared sensitivity. So it's not much concern on the quality of the art, on the content of the art, but on the process of producing the art. So the aesthetics regime is of above all, a political thing, because he's thinking about who can have access to the art, who can have access to produce art, and who can have access to enjoy this art. So it's much more sharing the production, sharing the experiences of producing art. And art here is not fine art, but any approach to art, contemporary art, street art, video games, we can think about this. And Kirkpatrick, he has this meaningless aesthetics. What is meaningless aesthetics? Because he's not also thinking about the content of the work. The focus is on the process and on the broader context that surrounds a particular video game and a game culture. So let's suppose when we have a game that we are not looking at the game and analyzing its content, its narrative, but we are doing what? Analyzing the discourses that goes around the launch of the game, the debate that some game can bring forth, the propositions. So let's suppose we were talking about the Sunday Parable, the game. The game in itself is not a special game. The game in itself, the narrative, of course, it's an starting point. But what is for Kirkpatrick more important are the discourses that comes after the game. So the game talks about everyday life, the repetitive task that someone has to do in a job, and the discussion that comes from playing the game. So it's the broader game culture, the broader discussion, the political aspect of playing this game, and the propositions that some game can propose, and we also have this concept of the mechanic is the message from Brenda. I don't know how to spell her last name, Braceworth, I think so. And she has this game called Train. I don't know if you have seen this. It's like a board game called Train. Oh, I have.
Brenda Romero.
Huh?
Brenda Romero.
Brenda Romero,
Because
yes.
She married John Romero.
Yeah, Brenda Romero, yeah. And she has this game called Train that is much more like a perform, not a game in itself, but it's a game. So in this game, Train, you have this train. They build like a scenery, a scenario, and they make this train and the railroads, and the objective. And at the end of the railroad is a concentration camp. So they make this mood. They put a typewriter from the Nazi party, and the rules of the game are written with this typewriter. And the players they get around the table, and they have to put as many people as possible inside the trains, and then take the train to the train stop and taking the people and going to the concentration camp. And the comments on by who played this game is that when they begin the game, they start putting the players, the tokens, inside the trains, but then something clicks and they start to take care on how putting the players, not the people, the tokens inside the train. So they are careful. They treat the tokens as real people. So here, the act of putting these people inside the train, it tells something about what the game is about. They tell something about the relationship between, let's suppose, the army in the Second World War that were putting these people inside the trains, and the people themselves. So this is what we talked earlier about the aesthetics of interaction or the aesthetics of play. So the interaction of the game, it's not on the game itself as an object, it's not on the players, but in this interaction. So when we interact with a game, we can feel this experience. Also, there is a game that is very fond of this concept that is Braid. Have you played Braid? Braid, yeah. So Braid, it's also, of course, it has that beautiful art style, the soundtrack. It all will contribute for the experience, but it's not exactly the artwork or the soundtrack that will give us this aesthetic experience. It is the interaction with the game. When you play Braid, you have that mechanic of coming back the time, of rewinding the time. And at first, it's only a game mechanic. And then as you progress in the game, you can see that rewinding the time as a mechanic tells something about what was the intent of the game designer. Because rewinding the time lets the player, the character, think about his past and what he has done in the past. So there are some phrases in the game that says, "Oh, how it would be if we could go back in time and correct some actions that we have made, and the people that we made suffer wouldn't remember what we have done, but we would learn with our errors." So the mechanic of the game of rewinding time is directly tied to the objective of the author. I don't know if you have seen when the game was launched, some players, they were not concerned about this message, and the designer was very angry because people were playing like they were playing Mario Brothers, and he said, "No, they are not getting the point of my game." He was very stressed with this. So in this game, the mechanic is also the message. Yeah. And one example that I bring here of the relationship between aesthetics and politics is this game is a Brazilian game called Bomba Patch. It's not a game, it's a mod of Winning 11, 10 that would be Pro Evolution Soccer by Konami. And it's still alive today, this Bomba Patch. Why Bomba? Because Bomba is like a sweet we have in Brazil. I think you have it here with another name. It's like a very good sweet. And I think that the developer of the game was eating this sweet when he had the idea of creating the game. So it's called Bomba Patch. Patch because it's a patch, it's a mod, yeah? So what's the point of this mod, of this game? Players in Brazil is like here in Spain. Football is a very national sport, yeah, and players were feeling underrepresented in this sport, in those official games, like in FIFA or PES, Pro Evolution Soccer. So what they decided to do? Let us make this game more more cercano, near our experience. Let's mod this game. Let every year let update the teams. Let us what they do is to get audios from live TV broadcasts of this game and put into the game. Because I don't know if you play FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer, the commentaries are very thin. They don't have the emotion of the commentaries that we see on a live show, on a live broadcast. So it was not the real football that we see in Brazil and in Spain when we go to a stadium. So they wanted to this game to be more like going to an experience of watching a game or playing a game. So I will put here a video. Oh, there is this, yeah.
¿Estás buscando un coche de segunda mano? Autogiro tiene las mejores ofertas para ti.
Huh?
Por ejemplo, este sea el león.
Ah. This is the Brazilian commentary. You can see that they changed everything. They changed the teams, they changed the language, they put the audience there with the banners like it is in the real world. Yeah. As we watch on TV. This Caio Ribeiro that he says is an actual commentator of football matches on TV. So they export these audios from live TV shows, live TV exhibitions. So I see this as a political statement. It's not only the content. Of course, the content is important, but what is more important is the action of producing this, looking for the audience, what the audience wants. The official games don't offer this. So let us make this of course, maybe they don't have this political agenda, but what they are doing is political because they are thinking about the audience. So it is what Rancière says about this distribution of the sensible. Let's make a game and let's think about to whom it is produced, to the players. So let the players share the sensitivity. So it's a common sensitivity for us. So the sensible, in this sense, is what comes to the senses. So when you play this modded game, you feel more touched. You feel more connected to the sport, to the game itself. And also when the game starts, they have also the comments, the narrators. The people chanting, ale, 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 oh. It's more emotional than the official game. This is the music that plays on TV Globo. The replay. So this is the relationship between aesthetics and politics. Let me click here. Okay. So that's it. These are the references. And gracias. Now have this space for.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop recording.
Okay.
Stop recording.